What is happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Mile High on Broad podcast. We got a great episode for you guys today. It's going to be a little personal to us. Next two episodes, we're going to be talking about our own teams. Obviously, Mike is our resident Eagles fan. Those of you guys who don't watch the videos, you just listen to us, on whatever you listen to your podcasts on, you won't know that, Mike pretty much wears an Eagles shirt every time he gets on the show. I'm surrounded by Broncos stuff, but we're going to take the next, our next two episodes and we're going to spend each show talking about the free agency for each of our teams, who is leaving, and we're going to talk about who we want to keep, who we want to see walk away. And then I got a nice curveball for Mike here at the end. I didn't want to be
Uh-oh.
prepared for this. I just kind of want to see and get his real in the moment take on this one. So we're gonna have some fun. I know the Eagles have 21 players set to leave in free agency. Uh, Mike's shaking his head over here, but I think that's most teams 20 plus. I think the Broncos have 24 this year, but I'm sure there's gonna be some names on this list that you don't even know who they are because they are 1 year contracts. They're gone, and they probably, for lack of a better phrase, don't matter. But they're leaving, so their name got put on this list. So I'm just going to run through. We're going to call this cut or keep, and I'm just going to say, hey, this guy's leaving. You want to cut him? You want to keep him? Anything else you want to add in on that individual? Just go ahead and let us know, and we'll see how you would rebuild this Eagles team and see if you guys can make another run at the Super Bowl. It's fun.
Sounds good.
First name on my list here is a great Eagle, Fletcher Cox, set to depart.
Ooh.
32
Big
years old. What are we doing with Big Fletch?
Yeah, Big Fletch he's definitely, in my opinion, an Eagles legend. He's one of those guys that at the end of his career, whenever he decides to hang him up, he's a first ballot Ring of Honor player for us. I think he has been probably the perennial number two D tackle in all of football for the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years behind Aaron Donald. I can't say enough good things about Fletch. Love the guy. We won a Super Bowl with him. He's great.
Sounds like you're letting him go.
With that being said, I think we got to let him go. Look, he's a little bit older. The last 2 or 3 years, he really hasn't been that same monster on the field that we all know and love. He's used to being double teamed pretty much every single play. But regardless of that, he used to still be able to break through, make some plays here and there. And he hasn't had the same effect on those kinds of plays. I think this year he had a little bit of a resurgence from last year, but a lot of that is down to the fact that we just had a monster D line this year. One of the most prolific in terms of sacks in NFL history, but I'm not so sure. I don't think he has much left in the tank. I would personally love to see him retire. I don't want to see a Brian Dawkins situation where he's an Eagles legend and unfortunately goes to like Denver or something like that where he has another year or two. I would just like to see him retire. So we'll see what he does, but that's my thoughts on Fletch. I'd like to see him retire.
All right, keeping it on the defensive line, Robert Quinn.
Yeah, look, Robert Quinn was one of those guys that we tried to make a move for midway through the season. The Bears knew that they weren't going to be very good. The Eagles knew that we were going to be very good. And so we were, the Bears were figuring, hey, let's see if we can't move off of this older guy. He was having a down season to the first half of his season. And so Philly wanted to bring him in, see if we couldn't maybe revitalize him a little bit from what we'd seen from him last year when he was top 5 in sacks last year. But I don't even know if he registered a sack for us this year. I mean, he was pretty disappointing. I know he was hurt a little bit, but that also comes with some of the age. I wasn't super impressed with what I saw from him. I loved the idea behind what we were trying to do, but for me, he hasn't proved anything in order for us to want to keep him. So I'd be more than happy to let Robert Quinn go.
Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham, he's another one of those guys that I think he's a Philly cult legend. I don't know if he gets exactly the clout within the mainstream media, but I mean, first off, he's a character, man. I don't know if you've ever heard him when he's mic'd up in the games, but I mean, he's constantly chirping at people. He's just a very good, big, fun character. Another Eagles legend because he had the strip sack against Tom Brady in that Super Bowl win. So for me, he's always got a special place in my heart. I actually have a Brandon Graham jersey, so I love the guy. he had probably his best season ever this year. At least certainly by statistics, this is his first time he ever had more than 10 sacks. I think he had either 11 or 11 and a half sacks this year. He looked very good this year. Now, I don't know if I'm going to end up regretting this in another year or two, but I'd like to see us give him a middle of the road extension in terms of years given to him. I'd like to see if we can give him another 2 or 3 years at a fair, decent market price. I don't think he's one of those 20 million, $25 million a year type players, but if he's willing to take 2 years, 3 years at 12, $14 million, I'd like to see him come back.
Given the longer contract to a guy who's 34 and cutting both of the 32-year-olds. So next guy on
Hey,
our list here.
he's the best out of all of them.
I'm
So
not even arguing. Next on the list, another defensive lineman. Look, I didn't put this in any order. I literally just
sure.
printed out. Boom. Here's a list of free agents. It just happened to be 4 straight defensive linemen. Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, he's been really good for us. He's another one of those guys that I would like to see us bring him back if we could. For me, it's probably going to be one or the other between him and Brandon Graham. Javon Hargrave is obviously a fair amount younger. He was another one that had a career year this year. He was part of that D line where we had 4 guys that had over 11 sacks. I think he was at 11 exactly. He's more of this year at least, he was more of a speed rusher than a run stopper. So that could have been kind of a double-edged, sword to it, some take there where part of the reason why our run defense might not have been as good as I would have liked to it have been is because we were being super aggressive with the pass rush. But look, he balled out. He's definitely earned a contract from somebody. I would like to see us give him that contract. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to see us bring Javon Hargrave back. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would like to see it happen.
All right. Jason Kelsey.
Man, these almost all of these guys you're starting off with so far have been around Philly for a while now.
They're legends, 30-plus-year-old legends.
No,
It's such
I
a hard
know,
decision. I get it. But you're
I
the GM.
know.
All right. They fired Howie. They gave you the keys. This is your team now. What are we doing with Jason?
Mike Roseman, what are we doing? I would like for him to come back for 1 year. Um, Ideally, what I would like to see happen, because somebody that we're going to get to a little bit later, I'm sure is a free agent. I don't think we're going to bring this person back. And so therefore, what I would like to see us do is bring back Jason for 1 more year, have him play at center, and then use the rookie that we drafted this past year, Cam Jurgens, and have him play at that other guard position. So that way he can get a year of experience of playing and a year of experience more from just mentoring and learning from Jason Kelsey. And then the year after that, move him back to center and then do what we need to do at that guard position. But I would love to see him come back for just 1 more year. I don't think that he feels like he has too much left in the tank. Whether I think he could play longer if he wanted to, but his heart's just not. I don't think fully in it to play another 2, 3, 4 years like he probably physically could. So yeah, I would love to see him come back for just 1 more year.
I think you don't have to worry about him going somewhere else like some of these other
No,
guys. But
no,
he's either playing in an Eagles jersey or he's hanging him up. So you're going to
yeah,
offer him the contract, and we'll see what he's either going to take it from you or he's going to
or he's
hang
gonna
him up.
retire.
So
Yeah, agreed.
all right, these are some good names off the rip. So James Bradbury.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of these have been good names so
He
far, other
wants to
than
get
maybe
paid
one.
too.
I know he does. And so this is part of why I'm nervous about next year, man. It's one thing to have 21 free agents. It's another thing to have 11 of your free agents being starters on your team, or at least getting significant minutes. So, James Bradbury, again, so I would love to bring him back, but like you said, he wants to get paid. I don't know if we can afford him.
Are you going to pay him? It's your team now. It's your
No, I
dollars. Are
understand.
you giving him the check?
Oh, I understand. I want to, but I don't know if we can. I don't see how we can possibly pay him, pay Jalen Hurts, and then try and pay any of these guys that I've already talked about. Wanting to maybe pay, coming up. That we've already just talked about. So I don't know. I would like. I think he's an elite number 2 corner in the league because I think Slay is clearly our one corner.
Yep.
Um, but I don't think you can tie that much money up into our DBs because we have another DB on here that we're going to probably talking about, I think, in a minute. I don't think you can wrap up all this money in DBs. I think we can probably go young in the draft. We can at least try. So as much as I appreciate everything James Bradbury did for us this year, and I love that we handed it to his old team, the Giants, 3 times this year with him, and I know he felt good about that. I think we have to let him go.
So, man, these names, I was taking a peek while you were talking at some of the upcoming names. I haven't looked at the Broncos list, but I hope this isn't as hard for me. Isaac Sumalo.
Close. Sayamalu.
In my head, I did it right the first time, and I was like, that sounds right. And then I said it out loud, and it was not right.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Isaac Sayamalu. This is the guard that I was talking about. I don't think we're going to be able to keep Sayamalu. The talks are that he wants top tier money for a guard. And he was somebody that's been progressively getting better for the Eagles year over year. He definitely had his best year this year, I think, by a lot of metrics and ratings that kind of go over our heads on how to grade an O lineman. He was ranked, I think, top 5, top 10 at his own position this year. It was far and away the highest rating he's ever had. And so I think like I said, he's going to want top dollar. He's going to command top dollar from somebody, but I don't think we're going to be able to afford him. So I think, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to have him back, he's going to have to walk.
Andre Dillard.
Man, Andre Dillard. I was so excited when we drafted him. We moved up in that draft class to get him. We moved up, I believe, it was ahead of the Texans or either Texans or the Cowboys, one of the Texas teams, to get him because everybody knew that team needed a stud left tackle and that he was going to end up being next. So we moved up 2 or 3 spots to go snag him, and I was thrilled. I was all about it. Everything about his reports were that he was going to be really, really good, and he just hasn't been. He's been pretty much the essence of a flop, in my opinion, for an offensive lineman. He doesn't play a whole lot for us. We ended up drafting Jordan Mailata in the 7th round, and Mailata has turned into a stud. The Eagles have a notoriously excellent offensive line coach, Howard Mudd. He's just, he just produces star after star after star. That's why the Eagles constantly have a top 3, top 5 O-line. This year, I think we had the number 1 rated O-line. But if he can't get Andre Dillard to work, I don't think anyone's going to be able to get Andre Dillard to work. So I'd be happy to watch him go.
Bye-bye. Kaiser White.
Kaiser White was good this year. I liked him. I liked everything about that signing. This was that first signing of the offseason that told me that Howie Roseman was going all in on the team, and it was going to be a team just kind of based on the success or failure was going to be on Jalen Hurts, right? This we all knew this year going into it was a big Jalen Hurts year in terms of deciding is he going to be the franchise guy or not. And Howie did an excellent job at realizing that Jalen Hurts is being paid zero money, relatively speaking. And so therefore you can load the team around you, right? And we needed linebacker help this year. And one of the first moves that Howie made was go out and get that outside linebacker in Kaiser White. I think he played very, very solidly for us. So I would like to see us come bring him back on a 2 or 3 year deal. Yeah, I think he's worth it. I think he's been very solid for us.
TJ Edwards.
TJ Edwards is all right. He's one of those guys that also he's a very hard worker, and year over year he's certainly progressed. But this year he definitely had a fire under him. We ended up drafting Nakobe Dean. We ended up bringing in
Play for that money.
He absolutely played for that money. He was a very underwhelming linebacker. I think coming into the season, the Eagles had the lowest rated linebacking core in the entire NFL. And he was one of those starters from last year who just wasn't very good. We drafted Nakobe Dean. That definitely lit something under him. We brought in Kaiser White and we brought in Hassan Reddick. And TJ Edwards said, I'm not losing my job to a rookie this year. I'm going to ball out. I'm going to make sure that I am able to, if nothing else, if I don't get paid from these guys next year, I'm going to get a contract from somebody because clearly I can play. I don't think that we've seen enough from him to pay him a big contract. And I think we drafted Nakobe. I think we stole Nakobe Dean when we got him in the 3rd round. So I would love to see us elevate Nakobe Dean, I'd like to see TJ Edwards go on somewhere else. I wish him nothing but success. I think he's been a solid, hardworking player, not a diva, nothing like that. He's been a solid character guy. So I'd like to see him go on elsewhere, have success, but I'd rather see us starting Kobe Dean.
Indomitian Sue.
The hitman, the mercenary, the guy that's kind of jumped around from team to team the last couple of years. I like him. I think he's a very good player, but he's old. He's one of those guys that we brought in midway through the season, along with Linval Joseph, where he was a big run stuffer for us, and so I think he did his job very well when we brought him in. But I don't think he's a every down kind of a player. I don't think he can get in there, play 45, 50, 60 snaps a game. I think he's more of those rotational pieces, 20, 25, 30 snaps a game. If he wants to come back on a very cheap deal, I'd be happy to have him back. But if he's going to ask for anything more than 5, 6, 7, 8 million, I can't stomach that for somebody his age.
For him to bring him back. All right, Linval Joseph.
Yeah, same idea. Like I said, he came in the same week I think that Ndamukong Suh did. Very nice player, very good player. He seemed to have had some good interviews where he was, all about the town, all those things. So he was definitely saying all the right things, but he's just a little bit older. He's in his mid-30s. I don't know if I'd be willing to bring him back for the price that he wants. So I'd be okay with watching him go.
All right, fan favorite, Boston Scott.
Who is Boston Scott, the Giant Killer? I love whenever we play the Giants because I think he has something like 65, 70% of all of his touchdowns come against the Giants. And I don't know why he does it. And I don't know. I don't really care. I love that he's able to do it. Boston Scott's one of those guys where for me, he's nothing more than a rotational running back. I think for most guys, or for most teams, he's probably a second or third string running back. He's clearly not proven anything to a point where he can be the guy, at least not on a consistent basis. And so if he wants to come back for a very, very minimal deal, fine, but we definitely don't need him. I think Kenny G is still going to be, I think Kenny G is first off better. And then on the current contract Kenny G is on, there's no reason that we'd have to pay him anymore. So I think Kenny G in every way, shape, and form is better, takes his spot. Boston Scott's cool, like him, wish him success, but I don't see any pressing reason to bring him back unless he's willing to take a borderline league minimum type of deal.
So you offering him a deal or you letting him walk?
Yeah, I'd offer him like a league minimum, but that's about it.
Zach Pascal.
Well, I think Zach Pascal is better. Could be a better number 3 wide receiver than Quez Watkins. He didn't prove anything to us this year. I don't know how much of that has been because we ended up dubbing Quez Watkins Fast Batman, and so therefore the coaching staff maybe kind of bought into it a little bit. Or I don't know how much of it is just Zach Pascal is just a subpar, third, fourth string wide receiver. I don't even know if he had I don't know if he had a memorable catch, honestly, all year. He may have had probably 10, 12, 15 catches all year. Like, he just was not very well used. I don't know if that's a system fit. I don't know if that's a scheme fit. I don't know if that's just Quez was, for whatever reason, outperforming him in practice and struggling a little bit in the games or what that was. But Zach Pascal didn't really do anything for me, so I'd be happy to watch him go.
Pro Bowler coming up here.
Uh-oh.
Little Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders. Yeah, look, Miles Sanders was good for us this year. Miles Sanders, I think, proved to me this year what I thought he could have been every single year if the man could stay healthy. But that has been his biggest issue is the kid can't stay healthy. I think over his tenure since he's joined the league, he's somewhere in that top 3, top 5 in terms of rush yards per attempt. It feels like almost every single year, the kid averages close to 5 yards a carry, which is an amazing number, but he just can't stay healthy. He had 1,200 yards this year. I think he had something around 10 touchdowns total. I think he's an underrated back in terms of his pass catching abilities. I think some of that has probably been taken away from him because Kenny G is a very good pass catcher, but he's definitely an underrated pass catcher. I think he can do it pretty well. If I'm being honest, I would like to tag him or let him walk. I don't want to offer him a contract. I think everybody's kind of seen what can happen from running backs if you give them big contracts after their first contract is up. So I'd like to tag him. I haven't thrown anybody out there that we wanted to tag so far. So I know we get one of those. So tag him or let him walk. I'd be okay with either one, but I would try to. I don't want to do him wrong per se. You know, if he's going to be furious that he gets the tag, he's not going to show up for OTAs. He's going to be becoming a locker room cancer. Okay, I'll let him walk. Go. Feel free to go get your money. You've been a good soldier for us. I appreciate everything you've done for us. But if you're happy to take the tag, I'll give you the tag.
I feel like the tag deadline already passed on Tuesday, but maybe there's
Yeah,
still time left on it.
it probably did, but I mean, I feel like we're talking about this as if though I was day one.
Day one. All right, so the tag
Day one.
on. All right, Rick Lovato.
Ooh, our long snapper. I didn't
Oh,
realize
you
that.
knew who that was. I was
Of course, I know.
wondering. I was wondering.
Get out of here! Come on, now. Thinking I'm some sort of fake fan. No, of course I know Rick
I
Lotto. Yeah,
promise you're gonna name some people on the Denver roster. I'm like, don't care, don't know them. Bye.
never heard of him. Don't know. Don't care. I mean, look, he's a long snapper. I'm sure they come a dime a dozen. I don't see any reason to need to bring him back. So thanks, Rick. Appreciate your hard work. I think you were on our roster for our first Super Bowl run too, a couple years ago, but I don't see any pressing need to bring you back.
Brett Toth.
Oh, I think we actually cut him today. I think he had, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the guy that had some legal issues, is the way that I will put that out there. And not to get overly religious, but I think he's a man that's going to hell for the things that he may have been accused of. I hope that I'm not thinking of the wrong person. So, because if this is the guy that I'm thinking that he is, he's a scummy piece of trash. Get out of here. Go to jail. Get out. Go away. Don't want to hear from you anymore. Don't write. Don't call. Numbers blocked.
Yep. Hopefully that is the guy you're thinking of. If not, Brett, we apologize.
Yes.
All right. Chauncey Gardner Johnson.
CJ Gardner Johnson. He was a great player for us this year. Thank you, Saints. I appreciate all your help this year. You've given us a top 10 draft pick, and you've given us a arguably top 5 safety this year when he was healthy. So good doing business with the Saints. Let's try Eagles and/or Howie Roseman and/or Mike Roseman. Let's see if we can't make sure we can do some more deals with the Saints sometime in the future, because those seem to have worked out for us. CJ Gardner Johnson was great for us this year. He ended up leading the league and tied for leading the league in interceptions, despite missing, I think, the last 5 or 6 weeks or something like that. And so he ended up lacerating his kidney in the game that you and I actually, ironically enough, went to against the Packers. He's been very, very good for us. I'd love to see if we can't bring CJ Gardner Johnson back. I know he plays at the safety position. And so for me personally, if you're going to make me go through and rank all 22 starters on the offense and defense, the safety position is probably for me like the least valuable position in terms of win losses, but there's exceptions to that rule, man. Like I said, 6 interceptions in roughly 11 games or something like that. For me, that has value. I think he's certainly earned a contract extension from somebody. I would like to see if we can't work out a deal with him. So yeah, I'm definitely going to try to offer him a contract.
Tyree Jackson.
He's like our. Let's see. We have Goddard. We have Grant Calcaterra. We have Jack Stoll. He's probably our 4th string tight end. I think he coming into the league. I remember when he was working out at the combine. I think he was a quarterback at one point, but I mean the dude's a monster for being a quarterback. He's like 6'7", like 230. He's huge. I have nothing for you, Tyree.
Whatever.
Good luck. I don't know if you've made more than 5 or 10 snaps on the field since you've been an Eagle. So good luck.
Walking papers.
Walking papers.
All right. Gardner Minshew.
The Jorts man. I love his energy, man. He's one of those
league fan favorite.
Yes, he really is. He's got a cult following. I am on that train. I had him for fantasy that rookie year where for fantasy he put up solid numbers. I mean, especially for like a 6th round draft pick or whatever the heck he was. He's one of those guys who I've always been on him because I just think he's a fun guy. I enjoy his energy. I think it depends on what Gardner views himself as, honestly, for if I'm going to bring him back or not. So if Gardner views himself as somebody that is a high string backup quarterback, I would love to bring him back. I think he is an upper tier backup quarterback. He's one of those very low rated starters if he gets a starting position, but therefore a top tier backup. I know he struggled a little bit this year for the Eagles. I know he kind of poo pooed the bed for the Saints game,
A
and I
little bit.
know he had a costly 4 interceptions or something like that against the Giants. He kind of rectified.
Did that as well.
Yeah, I mean he kind of rectified a little bit of it in the Dallas game. He put up over 40 points, I think, in that game. But like I said, it kind of depends for me on how he views himself. If he's somebody that says, I want to go out there, I want to get a 1 year deal for $20 million from, I don't know, Washington. All right. I can't even come close to trying to match that, right? Go do your thing, that's okay. But if he views himself as a top tier backup and he's willing to take 3 years at, I don't know, like 6 million a year, I'd be thrilled to have him back. For me, one of the most underrated positions is the backup quarterback because we've all seen in Eagles lore what happens when your starting quarterback goes down. It's a very important position to have. It's a price that I'm willing. It's one of the few backup positions that I'd be willing to pay a closer to a premium on than any other position. So yeah, like I said, it depends on how he views himself. If he's willing to take a couple million for a couple years, I'd love to have him back. But if he says, hey, I think I'm a starter in this league, I want 15, 20 million. All right, cool. Let him walk.
All right, last guy on this list here, we got Marcus Epps, your other safety.
Other safety. Yeah, he's not bad. He's one of those guys that's kind of been also steadily improving the last couple of years. I think that if we bring back CJ Gardner Johnson and him, we'd have a pretty solid DB room. I'd like to bring him back if we could. I don't think he's going to command some monster free agent value. I don't think he's up there with the CJ Gardner Johnsons or the Justin Simmons or anything like that. Yeah, he's a good player. I like him. He's a hard worker. So if we could bring him back on a reasonable deal, yeah, I'd be happy to bring him back.
A lot of defensive names on this list, a lot of defensive starters. Not a ton of the offense. I mean, some offensive line guys, but I mean, outside of like Miles Sanders, I mean, really not losing anything on offense, but on defense, you're definitely feeling this free agency coming up. So, quick recap: Fletch, goodbye. Robert Quinn, goodbye. Keeping Graham, keeping Hargrave, keeping Kelsey. You're gonna let Bradbury. I'm gonna screw this up again. Samoto. Sayamalu. Let's go with that. Dillard, all gonna walk. Kaiser White, keep him around. TJ Edwards, see ya. Trying to bring back Ndamukong Suh on a decent deal, but letting Linval Joseph go. I don't think you need both of those dudes. I mean, they're veteran,
kind of
veteran fat guys to stick in the middle of the field, right? So, keeping Boston Scott around. Look, I like that. I think he's going to keep cheap. I think he'll sign with Philly for cheap, and I mean, if you can get a fan favorite guy for cheap to look, he's fine being the rotational guy. He's fine being a rotational guy. Like it's a good locker room guy to keep around.
Great.
Zach Pascal, you're out. You're going to throw the tag on Miles Sanders. Letting your long snapper walk. Toth, peace. Later, bro. Trying to bring back both your safeties, CJ Gardner Johnson and Marcus Epps. Trying to bring back Gardner Minshew, and we're going to let Tyree Jackson walk. So it's kind of how you're going to break it down. And so here's a curveball I got for you, Mike.
Oh,
I want you to give me 3 names. All right. Guys that you are going out and you're actively hunting. I don't care if it's free agency. I don't care if they're hot names that have been discussed as far as potential cuts. Maybe they haven't been cut yet, but could be on the free agency market, or even guys the teams have said they're actively shopping. I want 3 names that you're actively going out. That guy you want to put on this Eagles roster. I don't care who they are. We're not going to worry about cap space. If you could do it, is Madden World. If you could do your wish list, the 3 guys you want the Eagles to go out there and get. I know I sprung this on you, so I'm going to give you a minute to kind of think about it. The 3 names you want the Eagles to go hunt down, what would be your top 3?
So definitely the first one would be King Henry. I think we all know that he is a top 3 running back. I would call him probably the second best running back in the league. If we're going no cap, no nothing, not worrying about anything, I would 100% be down to bring him back, reunite him and AJ Brown. Clearly, they have a relationship together. I don't know what that looks like off the field, but I know that they played together on the field before, and they both are able to get their own numbers. So I would be stoked to go get Derrick Henry. From there, I don't know where to go from here. I think Bobby Wagner's a guy that I'd still like to bring in. I think that he's somebody on the defensive end that I know we would be able to do things with. Um, if nothing else, we're able to get him in, and him and N'Kobe Dean could be a great pairing or great mentorship, that kind of a deal.
I think you could
I
get
think,
him fairly cheap too. I mean, I think
yeah.
cut 2 straight years because of age and cap hit. Maybe he's starting to realize like, hey, like I can get a contract, but no teams are paying me 15 million a year and keeping me around long term at that. So maybe you could swing him for a half decent price tag.
Yeah, so yeah, if we could get him, that would be awesome. And then from there, gosh, now I'm floundering at the moment in terms of guys that I would bring in because look, I don't think we need somebody like a D Hop. We have 2,000-yard receivers, and I don't want to stunt the long term growth of any of our guys. Trying to think of the other big name free agents. Like we don't need a quarterback, right? So we're not after the quarterback market. Saquon's already tagged, and/or don't really need him, especially if I'm going after
King
Derrick
Henry.
Henry. I don't know who else is out there.
I mean, there's a ton of guys out there.
I mean, in terms of like free agents that are like viable. I'm not just going to throw out there and say, yeah, I want Nick Bosa because obviously everybody wants Nick Bosa, but I can't get Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely not getting traded or cut. His name's not being floated around
No,
anywhere. I mean, look, if you only got two, then you can say, look, I'm putting all my chips in on Derrick Henry and trying to get him Bobby Wagner, and I think this team's good enough to run with it. I mean, you
I
brought back,
mean,
I think, a lot of the key pieces you're missing. I mean, unless you're trying to chase down a corner to fight, replace Bradbury or something like that. I mean, you brought back, you know, I think most of your key pieces. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess if I can, kind of looking through
it,
some
it
of this stuff right
it's harder when
now.
you have a Super Bowl roster, right? So.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely accurate, but I think we're going to end up losing a lot of guys this year, due to just the nature of how we constructed this roster. A lot of them are on the ends of their deals, and a lot of them were brought in as a 1 year hitman because, hey, we're going all in. So, if you want to try to win a ring, come here, kind of a thing. Um, I don't know because I mean I'm looking at some of these guys here right now. I mean, maybe Marcus Peters. Like if we can go all in. I mean, look, I guess if we're saying all in, no cap doesn't matter. I would bring back Bradbury. I guess might be my final one. But if we're saying, hey, Bradbury's gone, and so therefore I
Hey,
can't
you're
bring
gonna
him
let him
back.
test the market, but you're gonna actively, hey, if somebody gives you a
Sure.
deal, come back and talk to me. We
Yeah.
want to bring you
So
back, but we're not going to initially offer you anything crazy. But I mean, if that's what it
yeah.
comes down to, you might sweeten it a little bit to bring him back.
Yeah, but again, like I said, if there's no salary cap, then I'm bringing him back in the first place. But if we can't bring him back, then I would like to go after another veteran guy, maybe like Marcus Peters, right? I think he's a good corner. He's not an elite corner by himself anymore. I know that he certainly has some off the field type of issues, but I think maybe not issues. He's just a locker room, bit of a talker. But I think maybe some of that is almost welcomed in the Philly area, and so I think he could bring some personality, some toughness, some aggression to the area. I think that him and Darius Slay would be another lockdown corner duo to kind of replicate the model from last year. So yeah, again, no free agent or no cap bringing in Bradbury. If Bradbury's gone, I'm bringing back. I'm bringing in Marcus Peters.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you guys had a good time with us tonight, talking
No,
some
I sure
Eagles
did.
Eagles football. Join us next time. We're going to be talking about the Broncos roster situation, and letting you know who I would keep and who I would cut from that roster.
And who you
Um,
don't know.
yeah, and yeah, look, I haven't looked at the list. Obviously, I know a lot of the names that are probably going to be on there, and probably if you to catch me off guard. Also, unlike Mike, since I wrote the show. I know what the curveball is going to be at the end of the show, but I haven't spent too much time kind of thinking about it. But I think I have a decent three names I'd probably want Denver to chase after. So hope you guys have a good time, and we'll talk to you next time.